This is the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast, number 13. I'm with Anatoly Yakovenko, who's the creator of Solana. He led development, or he was the lead developer of operating system at Qualcomm, distributed systems at Mesosphere, and compression at Dropbox. He holds 2 patents for high-performance operating systems protocols, was a core kernel developer for Brew, B-R-E-W, which powered every CDMA flip phone, that's 100 million plus devices, and led development of tech that made Project Tango, VR and AR possible on Qualcomm phones. Solana was co-founded by Alan Yu, Anatoly Yakovenko, Eric Williams, Greg Fitzgerald, Raj Gokal, and Stephen Ackridge in 2017. It is a company dedicated to creating a new blockchain with a data structure that encodes the passage of time as data, also referred as proof of history, POH, and it will allow up to 710,000 transactions per second on a 1 gigabit, excuse me. Yeah. Satisfying all three. Yeah. Satisfying. Oh, go on. Sorry.
So that's like the theoretical upper bound, right? Like the software has to be good enough to process that. We're not quite there yet, but getting closer.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it satisfies all 3 desirable properties of a proper blockchain: scalable, secure, and decentralized. Solana aims to provide the ideal toolkit for developers to build the next generation of blockchain applications without limitations. Their mission and vision is to aim to provide the ideal toolkit for developers to build the next generation of blockchain applications without limitations. Welcome to the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast, Anatoly.
Thank you. Do I call you Uncle Bob?
Call me Uncle Bob.
All right. Thank you, Uncle Bob. Great to be here.
And do you know what? That is such a cool background.
Thank you.
Is it a green screen or is it just the virtual background?
It's just Zoom. They have like if you go into options and settings, they'll set up a virtual background. And then people don't have to see like your messy house because you have like.
Yeah, I know. I've used it before. But actually, you've got a kind of like almost a shimmer around you. You look almost, I don't know, like Obi-Wan Kenobi-esque. And it's yeah. Sorry, I lost you there for a second. You almost look like Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Okay, so to our viewers, can you quickly describe the Solana project in a nutshell?
Okay. In a nutshell, it's a really fast blockchain. So like a layer 1, there's no compromises, no layer 2 stuff. It is proof of stake, so that I would call that a compromise. I kind of love the idea of proof of work and how it works, but beyond that, everything is, no sharding, no kind of like security gimmicks. It's as secure as you can get, a single layer, but also as fast as you can get.
Wow. And what then makes your project unique compared to other high-speed, high-powered blockchain networks?
So just I think my background, former Qualcomm, and like 2 other, the co-founders are ex-Qualcomm folks, and our first like 8 hires were all out of Qualcomm. We're basically like a team from ex-Qualcomm people that built this thing. And Qualcomm is a wireless networking company. They build CDMA, they build LTE, they're building out 5G right now. And if you think about it, those are the biggest distributed systems in the world. There's 3 billion devices right now, all connected on the same network effectively globally. Cross-jurisdictionally, I can call you right now over Zoom, right? And we can talk and all this stuff works. And it's secure and it's fast. And kind of the fundamental idea of how to make that stuff all work is fairly simple. I mean, obviously it's gotten really, really complicated, but like super early days of radio towers, 2 towers transmit at the same time. They get noise because electromagnetic waves interfere. They gave every tower a clock that's synchronized and uses global source of time to coordinate. So when I saw like, hey, blockchain is slow, the block producer problem is the same problem as radio towers transmitting and coordinating. I kind of just took what I've been working on for 14 years and applied it here. So this is, I think, the kind of the main difference. How we think about this problem is that we think of it in terms of like solutions that have been out there for like decades already that are kind of tried and true, and we're just applying them as fast as we can.
And it sounds like you had a eureka moment. Can you remember where you had this eureka moment?
Yeah, this was actually like there's a spot in San Francisco called Cafe Soleil. I had like two coffees and a beer, and then I was up till 4 in the morning, you know, because I had way too much coffee. And I've been talking to my buddy about like mining, and because we had a startup trying to build, you know, deep learning hardware that's subsidized by mining. And we're just like, mining's too slow. Why is everything so slow in crypto? And I had this kind of eureka moment that you can take the same kind of puzzle that proof of work does, but tweak it a little bit and make it a puzzle that doesn't matter how much electricity or computational power you have, but takes the exact same amount of time to solve, and then use that physical bound as a means to generate a clock, a global clock. And because I spent like, you know, a good part of my life working at Qualcomm, I was like, oh, once you have time, you got all this other free stuff. So that was it.
Wow.
It was literally like, you know, I didn't need to design the rest of the system or have everything perfectly figured out, because I knew I had this kind of get out of jail free card for optimizations in distributed system.
And so, with this eureka moment, bringing up to the present day, what's the significance of Solana? How do you think it can change the world in which we live in?
Well, why is so much money being dumped into the space? Like, you know, do you use like crypto every day?
Yeah.
Like, do you like daily? Do you daily
I don't use it. I don't use it. More abuse it.
Okay. Nobody uses it, but everyone thinks it's the future. And the reason is actually like, to me, is fairly obvious. This is part of like Paul Graham's like thing of software eating the world, right? Like 20% roughly of the world's GDP is spent on moving money around. Just like all financial services companies, if you combine all the revenues, all they do is like move money around and have like people sign paperwork and build up all this legal stuff to prevent fraud, right? But that's 20% of the world's GDP. If you can turn all of that into software and like on-chain governance and like things that are trust minimizing, you can reduce the cost of that from 20% to like 1 or 5 or 0.5. And that means that you and I can work 4 days a week and get the same standard of living as we're working right now for 5 days a week. Because we literally took all that wasted energy and just moving numbers around in a computer, right? And like people managing those numbers and put it into software, and it's done, right? That's it. That's kind of the dream, right? And that's a pretty huge dream. So that's I think why there's so much like why I want to build this, why there's so much money pouring into the space, why it's so exciting, and why there's just really people trying every crazy idea under the sun to get it done.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like you're on the threshold of, like, you're a pioneer. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like you're a pioneer?
This will totally date me, but you know, I was like around in the 90s when the internet was just like getting kickstarted, and like those like early 90s to late 90s, there was just kind of nobody on there, right? There's BBS boards, it's like dancing baby emails. This is what crypto's still like, that kind of stage. And there were a lot of people with a ton of energy just trying crazy things. If you remember, Google was built in 1998. That's when it kind of came around, which is fairly late in a kind of period. I don't think we are in the 1998 stage of crypto yet. It's not clear who like the Google is going to be or what the killer use case is and how it's going to kind of grow with the space outside of trading, right? But like nobody wants trading to be the only use case for crypto.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. No, I agree. Well, that's what makes your project interesting. You're Solana will be used to enable 5G networks. Can you just again sort of break that down for anybody who doesn't understand how that happens and what the significance of it is?
Yeah, so 5G is this really interesting problem. 4G networks, if you look at a tower, like this thing that connects your phone to the rest of the network, they have a range of about 30 miles, so 50 kilometers. It's like fairly wide, right? 5G towers are more like your standard Wi-Fi like access point, right? It's got a range of 500 feet. So what is that, like 200 meters or something like that? So imagine going coast to coast with towers that only have this range of 200 meters. It's just like 1,000x more hardware that needs to be deployed. And if you're like a big carrier like Verizon or Dish or like AT&T, you just don't want to deal with installation and managing and maintaining all this stuff. So kind of like what makes sense is farming it out to professionals are going to kind of cover the area and maintain those things and make sure that all that infrastructure is there and in place. But that creates effectively like this really kind of complicated billing problem. Sounds simple, but your 5G phone has to keep about 12 to 24 connections active at all times with all these towers. It's constantly telling each one, hey, I want this much capacity. I want this much data from you. And this is happening in real time. And if you're just driving from, like home to your office, you're going to switch between like 100 of these providers, and each one of them needs to get paid. So imagine like just even building a simple database to do this is a really complicated problem. To do it in a way that where fraud is impossible, because now you're dealing with a big carrier, right, like Verizon, and 1,000 providers that are all like mom and pop ones that want to kind of pump up their numbers as much as they can. So this is not like an easy problem to solve, but blockchain happens to be a fantastic real-time billing system with really strong cryptographic guarantees. So if you had a blockchain that could scale to support that many users, that many providers, and that's totally doable and feasible. And this is where we came in. I think we're probably the only one where that's realistic.
Are you good at chess, by the way? Not just because
like
you've got a Russian sounding second name.
No, I'm like B+ at chess. I played it and I was pretty good, but I am like extremely lazy. So like
do you know what? It's because it sounds like you like figuring out problems, and
yeah.
You're definitely a problem solver. All right, I need to ask this for my own self. 5G's had a real bad rap in the press. Obviously, all kinds of conspiracy theories. People are afraid. Should they be afraid, or is it? What's your take? Obviously, you're gonna take.
You're asking an engineer, so probably not. So like, it's probably like everything's gonna be fine. The energies that are transmitted in those frequencies are kind of too small, but a combination of factors in the worst possible case where you have like bad manufacturers and maybe somebody that's really criminally like negligent could build something where if you're like exposed to it 24/7 for like a decade, will do some damage. But it's like, right, it's like the likelihood of that happening is so small that I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. Well, that's put all my fears at rest. Okay,
so the thing is that like people being like afraid and pushing regulators to go like look at the stuff is what like pushes the FCC to actually care. And that means like when they care, they go like do the standard verification, do better testing, and that doesn't happen. So like don't just like not give a shit about it, right? Like actually go and push your local governments to take a look. But it's not something that need to be paranoid.
Well, to be honest,
you've got
a trustworthy looking face, Anatoly.
This is my mainnet.
He's got a beard. He's trustworthy.
Mainnet beard.
He's got a friendly looking face.
This is my mainnet beard. I haven't shaved since we launched mainnet. So it's been like 40 days. Nearly 10 million blocks. So each like millimeter is like a million blocks. effectively.
What is it? They say 40 days to change a habit, or to 60
Yep.
days to form a new one. Right. Very quickly, you did a partnership with Chainlink. I think that's the one that everyone knows about. What's it been like
Yep.
working with them, and who else have you partnered up with?
We have a couple more announcements coming out, but like I can talk about Chainlink. So Chainlink um, is a really cool oracle. Like oracles are just seem kind of trivial for people when they don't think about it too hard. It's like I have information outside of the blockchain and I want to put it in the blockchain. So let's say like a current price of Bitcoin to USD, right? Or current price of Ethereum to USD. Why is it so hard for me to take that information that I know and put it inside Ethereum or Solana? Well, how do I trust that information? How does anybody trust my version of it? And if you actually look at kind of history and finance, there's been oracles like the LIBOR rate that have been attacked by the people that are supposed to be feeding those numbers into this rate. So traders would call each other and say, hey, I know you're going to put your numbers into this thing that's being published. Can you like fudge it a little bit, or can you withhold some of the ones that are like too high or too low? Because I have a position against this rate. And if it goes too high or too low, then my position gets ruined and then my boss will yell at me. And this actually happened. And there were traders in England that got, I don't know, a slap on the wrist for doing this, but literally like caused hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage to the financial industry from doing this. So it's a problem that is easy to say, oh, we're just going to move data into the blockchain and people can use it, but really hard to do well because of the security requirements for it. So Chainlink is a company that's really focused on this problem and only this problem alone. They have a bunch of validators. Actually, a lot of their validators overlap with ours. And what we want to build with them is something that's unique to the space. Our block times are 400 milliseconds. We can give finality almost instantly in 400 milliseconds. So we can give a guarantee for a price to be inside the state of this blockchain much faster than Ethereum or any other blockchain out there. So we can build kind of tools and infrastructure and therefore applications that are impossible anywhere else. So imagine a price feed that's updated every 400 milliseconds. You can then start building trading instruments or platforms or like binary options that you would just not be able to do on Ethereum or anywhere else at all. So for us, this is kind of like the kind of product that's right for the moment, because we literally saw oracles fail on Ethereum during Black Thursday, right? There was a market panic, price feeds couldn't go in. The state of what the price feed was in the blockchain and Ethereum was so widely different than what it actually was that like like parts of like the maker CDPs were closed at zero, like at price zero. There are a lot of other factors that like caused this to happen, but like literally like compared to what you hear like traders fail in like real banks, which are in billions, this was $3 to $5 million that got effectively traded at the wrong price on Ethereum, which is small comparatively, but big enough for our space and big enough to like really put a black eye on this whole DeFi ecosystem, which sucks because I think that to me, DeFi is like what I was talking about. It's software eating this 20% of our like daily spend, right? Reducing that down to 1 or 0.5%.
Wow. Honestly, I've got to tell you, your whole attitude is a great, you're the most positive guy that I've interviewed. I even without doing all the kind of smiling or laughing, I just feel it from you. You really
Oh, thank
have a
you.
belief, you have a vision. That's bigger than just trying to make a load of money, which is, it's all good anyway. Nobody's saying that isn't a
Yeah.
bad thing, but I can really feel from you that you've got a vision and a passion and a purpose. Is that right? Would that be true?
The trick is 2 coffees and a beer. That'll but yeah, like I'm lucky to be working on this. You know, I'm an engineer in California. Like the worst thing that could happen is I have to go work for an advertisement agency, right? Like like so it's not a big deal, right? I mean Google or Facebook. That's a
Yeah.
joke, right? But like being able to build, like when I think of what I'm building, I think of us building an operating system for like a level 2 civilization, like a Dyson sphere with like that's silicon wrapped around the sun, trying to use all the energy of the sun for
Wow.
computation. That thing needs to run an operating system. It has to be fault tolerant, and it has to be the fastest possible thing you can build. So that's like the dream, right?
Have you met
Can we
Elon
build
Musk
that?
yet?
You know? No, I haven't.
It sounds like you're kind of you're a kind of visionary, a trailblazer. You're the first trailblazer I think I've interviewed. It's official.
In crypto, really? I mean,
I'm
everybody in
kind of
crypto
feeling
is,
in my,
a little
I'm
crazy.
feeling like you're a trailblazer. I might be wrong, but I don't know. I'm feeling
Awesome.
like it's true. It's coming from
Awesome.
the true place inside of me. All right. To kind of wrap things up, what excites you most about what you're doing right now, or in crypto in general? What's the most exciting thing? What are you most excited about?
I mean, like, I guess this. But when I kind of look at our position in the world right now, I'm like a little disappointed that we're not in the place where we can like go and jump and fix the current problems today, which are like we had this huge catastrophe, right? COVID, and like really like that impacted a lot of people. To me, that part sucks, that we don't have the opportunity to go just like jump on it and like sew masks or build PPE for doctors. But I am excited that right now I think everything that we've been talking about in crypto for like the last decade, I think is just going to be accelerated, because what we're building, the tools we're building, are cheaper, faster, better than what was there before. And that's not enough usually for people to switch. It takes like some kind of shock to the system for people to like, okay, we need to throw away this old stuff and start anew. And I think that shock is going to like really accelerate adoption. We saw that with the internet. We saw that like with Bitcoin right after 2008. Financial crisis kind of was what accelerated Bitcoin into what it is today. And I think we'll see the same thing with these new financial products, these new networks coming out of this crisis as well. So while I don't know, like I'm not like gung ho blindly. Like I think we have a absurd amount of work to do, but I think this is, you know, every crisis is an opportunity, and hopefully, right, we succeed and people do get like effectively a free day off.
That'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I know. Like,
I mean,
but you know
isn't
what's
that
gonna
what Richard
happen, right?
Branson wanted? Richard Branson was
Yeah,
always
yeah. I
saying
mean,
we should have a 4-day work week. But then again, he was on Necker Island.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure that was a great work week
yeah.
anyway. But I agree with you. I feel at least, do you know, like Uber, well, especially over here in the UK, Uber overnight put all of the taxi cabs out of business. And it happened in a flash. It happened so fast. Technology moved so quickly. It didn't have time to catch up. And I feel like we're in that moment now. And Bitcoin was born out of the last financial crisis. And maybe this is where it starts to mature, or where it grows up, or it shows its time is now. And you get even Jack Dorsey, you can kind of see he's another trailblazer. He believes that Bitcoin will be the internet's money. It could well happen. It could happen like that. Blockchain technology is adopted like that. And I mean, yeah.
So I'm a bit more skeptical. Like I saw like the Twitter announcement more like in the 90s again, like, you know, Ford Motor Company saying they're using the internet, right? Or they're using a database. It's just like, okay, Twitter is using blockchain, but we'll see what actually happens and when. Hold on a second. I got a 4-year-old that's asking me about a Pete the Cat video on Amazon that stopped.
Well, look, I think it's time for you to do some parenting. And listen, Anatoly, great having you on. I've enjoyed, I've learned. Good luck in the future with your projects. You're welcome back on anytime. Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Dude, thank you so much. This was fun.